What to do in the name of research is to see where Ghana was immediately before independence and then right after independence, because we've had some relatively better days where in comparative terms compared to Malaysia, Singapore, South Korea and other countries, we compared favorably. And I think that the issue has to do with lack of policy continuity. We could see that from the early 70s, all of that, with several interruptions, and therefore we couldn't implement a policy for its length to see the desired outcome and to also learn the lessons from them and all of that. And also because we demonstrated incapability in managing our affairs, a lot of the World Bank, IMF-led reforms, to some extent, also made some progress, but there were shortcomings in ways that also didn't help us in terms of scaling up. Oftentimes the narrative is that Ghana has not generated enough tax revenue, and that is why we've not been able to develop. If you look at it in comparative terms, that is not entirely true. It has to do with largely inefficiency in our public investment, especially when it comes to developmental spending and all of that. And the other bit that you also see here is that, in fact, actually, since independence, the early days we will see some of improvements, policies and all of that. But I think after that, we have not been intentional in growing a taxable economy. Because the point is that we have to be able to determine the kind of economy we want to build. And that would inform the kind of investment we make, which will also inform the kind of the quality of service that we should be receiving from the public sector, from the civil service, okay? Because that is very important in engineering productivity growth. Because remember that the public sector interacts with the private sector. So an inefficient public sector represents cost to the private sector as it interacts with the public sector. So over time, we have not been deliberate actually in making incremental progress, and we have left the economy essentially to chance. We pick whatever growth that drops. No, that's not proper. We should be intentional about the kind of growth we want, and then that would also inform where we put our money. And here, let me say this, that if you look at our macroeconomic framework, one of the key targets is employment. But there is no nationally determined employment